Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where we're all about financial freedom. Today I want to talk about financial independence because it's something I'm super passionate about. I've been on my own FIRE journey for over 10 years. Now when we mention the FIRE movement, I think a lot of new people are put off. And why? I think in most cases when you see people retiring from FIRE, it's two people earning over 100k a year, they've got this crazy amount of money that they're able to save and invest. So for a new person coming along, you're thinking, I don't earn that kind of money, it's not applicable to me, and it's not achievable on a low income. Well, that just isn't the case. Well, today, let's dispel that myth and get you on your path to financial independence and get you retiring early. But before we start, let's just talk about the term low income. Well, by FIRE standards and some of these videos you see, you might think anything under 50k is actually classed as a low income. Well, it's actually not, and if you're earning under 50k, you can actually be on a really great salary. And I believe that FIRE is attainable for everybody, which leads me nicely into point number one, which is don't be too harsh on yourself. Now this, I think, is the number one thing that stops people entering FIRE and just stops you from starting, which is really the best thing you can do. Don't just see these crazy salaries and crazy goals and think it's not attainable for me. In most cases, a lot of these examples that you see, especially on YouTube, are the exception and not the norm, and they're kind of glamorized to make it as big and as exciting as possible. And let's face it, someone retiring at 35 with over 2 million in the bank is fantastic clickbait. So don't just see those and think it's not attainable and it's so unrealistic. Your FIRE target can be much more sensible. If you had your house and accommodation paid off with a mortgage and you didn't have to pay that cost, what would you need to survive? And do you need a big fancy car or a big fancy house? Or can you just have a reasonable car and a reasonable house and just enjoy your life? So just work out what you would need to live and what you need in a budget and have some kind of safety net. You probably don't need 50 or 100k a year once you're retired to live. Although it would be fantastic, it's not that sensible. And once you've got your FIRE target, you can work out, do I want to retire sooner with less money, or do I want to work longer and have more money when I retire? You can kind of set your goal and your plan accordingly. And don't forget, if you are in a couple, you can do this together, which cuts the cost and expectations of this goal in half. Next up, you need to work out how much you're saving. And what percent of your income does that make up? Typically, someone following FIRE will generally save about 70% of their income. Just spending enough to have the necessities and have money to live an enjoyable life. And you might think, 70%, that's crazy, how am I ever going to attain that? Well, here's a couple of things you might not have thought of. Are you paying into your mortgage? Well, that's saving. Are you paying into your workplace pension? Well, that's saving too. Do you have any collectibles or things that could be worth more in value over time? That's also classed as saving. So anything that's building to your net worth is actually classed as saving. So you can use all of these things and put it together and have your goal in mind. So for example, if you're putting more money into your mortgage, then when you reach that age and you've got that target in mind, you might have built up the equity within your house and you can use that towards your FIRE goal. You can always sell that property, reduce your costs and use that to generate income through other sources like investments. You can work out what percentage of your earnings you're saving. So to do that, let's say for example, I was saving £1,500 a month out of my 2,000 salary. I would take 1,500, divide it by the 2,000 and then times it by 100, which would give me my figure of 75%. So to get that saving figure, take all of those things into account. So for example, like equity, you're paying off your mortgage, how much you're paying into workplace pension, how much your employer is contributing to your pension, that also counts. You can also take into account things like your general savings and your ISA, etc. So just remember, all of those things do add up. So step 3 is to set a goal. So set a goal of how much you're going to save each month. And then you can work out how you're going to get towards that target. Review your spending, your budget and your bills. And pay off any debts, prioritising the highest interest first. Once you've got that budget in place, it'll make the whole process so much easier. And you can even put your money into things like envelopes so you know how much money you've got for each week. So when you go shopping, for example, you're not going to blow your money on things you just don't need because you're not going to have the money to do so. And with that target in mind, you can work back and think, how are we going to get there? And then you can think about what can you eliminate? Which leads nicely onto step number 4, which is lifestyle adjustments. So first, start with the obvious. You probably know, sitting here, you've got things you're paying for that you just don't need. Do you have 6 subscriptions that you're thinking, why have I signed up for all of these? Well, take a look at those first and cancel accordingly. Do you need Netflix, Amazon and a TV license? Could you cancel one? You could just use Netflix and cancel your TV license, which would save you a nice chunk each year. And the most important thing here, which I think is crucial to get across, is you don't need to keep up with the Joneses. And what do I mean by that? You don't need to buy the latest tech, cars or clothes just to keep up with other people. The sooner you realise it's okay to not conform, the better. I certainly don't. I'm happy to shop in the cheap shops, wear my cheap clothes and drive a cheap car because I know I'm happy saving money. And that gives me that long-term satisfaction and not that instant gratification, which I think these days people are so caught up on. They think about the now and not the future. Here's a few quick-fire ideas that can help save you some money. Could you go running or cycling instead of paying for that fancy gym membership? Do you shop in the cheapest supermarkets? Because over the year that can save you so much money. Shop in the reduced section or shop in the likes of Aldi and Lidl. And even, I think which most people overlook, if you go to a supermarket like Tesco, you can shop much cheaper. You can go for their basic range, you don't need to be buying those branded products. And it would probably save you some money if you can go to the supermarket without the kids and they're not buying that branded cereal, that branded make that they have to have. I also, once I hit age 30, I actually swapped to being vegetarian and the amount of money I saved was incredible. I can't believe how much money I was spending on meat each and every week, which some of you might not want to do, but it's just an idea. Maybe you can just reduce your meat intake and have some more vegetarian meals. Tins of kidney beans and chickpeas are going to save you so much money compared to things like chicken breast. It actually saved me around £50 a month. Could you look at borrowing items instead of buying them? If you can borrow something from a neighbour or a friend, it can save you an awful lot of money, especially if you're only going to use it once or twice a year. I actually did this with a jet wash. I just borrowed it from a friend instead of going out and spending £100 or £200 on a fancy jet wash. If you're not already, your phone should be on a SIM-only contract, so you can save so much money over the total length of the contract. And finally, which I've been utilising lately, when I go shopping and I go to Tesco, I'm really utilising club card points. I, unfortunately, do have to go to Tesco every week because I need gluten-free products. So what I'm doing when I go to the supermarket, getting the points, and I'm actually converting them to hotels.com vouchers. And believe it or not, I've actually managed to get about 4 or 5 nights away already, which so far has saved me around £500, which has been fantastic. The next thing to think about is taking advantage of free money. So whatever free scheme or government tax saving you can take advantage of, really just do it as soon as possible. For example, if you're investing, make sure you get that money in the stocks and shares ISA and try and utilise as much of your limit every year. You can also be utilising a lifetime ISA, which will give you essentially £1,000 for free each and every year. And you can use that towards buying a house or for retirement. Another fantastic scheme which I've just learnt of recently is the rent a room scheme. Rent out a spare room in your house and you can earn £7,500 a year tax free. So just imagine if you've got the ability to do that, how much that could add to your total each and every year. There's plenty of schemes like this available. Do your research, whatever aspect of your life it might be, whether it's childcare, pensions, etc. Do your research because these schemes can really pay off. The next thing to mention is side hustles, which is my favourite topic. I've helped so many people start their own businesses and make their own living online. It's so rewarding when you see people get that right and they're able to live the life they want. Along the way, I've helped a few people in particular. They're able to earn about £30,000 a year and they only work now about 1 day a week. So if you've got some kind of skill that you can turn into a side hustle or something you just really enjoy doing, whether it's flipping furniture, maybe you know a language, can you write, can you design a website, are there any things you can do like that, video editing, etc., run social media for people. There's loads of ideas that you can turn into a business. I'll give you recurring revenue each and every month. I'll be doing loads of videos on this soon with ideas and how to do it. So if you're thinking about starting a business and earning some extra income, do invest in that subscribe button. It's actually free and it doesn't cost a penny. With that being said, let's jump on to the next one, which is the investing mindset. Now this is something I'm super passionate about and what really started my whole journey on YouTube. Unfortunately, enough people don't know about investing early on. And I think sadly that's down to the education system and they should really be teaching us this kind of stuff in school and understanding the full value of money and how we can use money to make more money. So as soon as you start investing and adding to that, it's going to go up and up and up and up and snowball to that final figure. The more years you've got and the more you deposit, of course, the more you're going to end up with. And if you get into the investing mindset, you can actually think this money that I'm going to waste on X could actually be worth a lot more if I invest it and let the money grow. So the best thing you can do with investing is just start. I know it might seem scary and you might think there's a lot of risk, but actually you can go for a very low risk option. And if you're just leaving your money in the bank, unfortunately, you're actually going to be losing money because of inflation. I mean, if nothing else, put your money in something like premium bonds at zero risk. I would encourage you to invest. You can go for something really safe like a low-cost tracker, which will hopefully give you on average a return of 7% a year. Now just compare that to what the banks are offering you. So what you're looking for is a low-cost ETF with a low expense ratio and a low management fee. I'll be doing a video shortly on investments I think are perfect for fire. You can hold them long term with a kind of set and forget approach, and just focus on things like making more money and saving money in areas where it counts. You should also definitely have your money within a stocks and shares ISA, so all of those investments, when they make money, you're going to be able to take them out tax-free. Just imagine if you had £1 million in that kind of account and a normal account, you're taking the money out, and one you've got to pay tax and one you haven't. I know which one I would prefer. If you haven't already got an account, I did a comparison of all of the top providers and Freetrade came out on top. Why? Because the fees are just so low, and I think it's a perfect platform for beginners. I'll leave a link down below, and you actually get a free share when you sign up, so it's definitely worth checking out if you need an account. So start investing as soon as possible and get building that compound interest. Which brings me nicely onto my final point, which I think is a key thing I would like you to take away from this video, which is focus on the process. Well, what do I mean by that? The daunting idea of looking at that huge number on all of these saving goals and thinking, how am I going to do this, can be quite overwhelming. All you need to do is just focus on the process. And actually, what I mean by that is if you just focus on these things and things I mentioned in this video, your life is just going to be so much better in general. Don't get too overwhelmed and think I can't do this. Just take a look at how you can budget, save more money, and just live a more humble life in general. You can live responsibly, you don't need to overconsume, you don't have to subdue to these crazy goals of having this mansion and this Ferrari. Yes, it'd be nice, but what would you rather do? Work 20 more years or retire early? I've always done fire because I think it's such a fantastic safety buffer, so if something goes wrong, my business doesn't last because I've been self-employed for the last 13 years. If something went wrong, I've got money to fall back on, I'm not going to be in trouble. So I hope you found this helpful and you're inspired to start your fire journey, and let's do this thing together. 'Cause I just wanna see the light.